SkirmishCon Mordheim event, day 2, 2026. Whatever order I should have said that in. Smurfs coming into the gate with a 3-1 record. And before I tell you about the day, I have to complain that my car got a flat tire. I got default in Jacksonville as expected with a big screw right in the side of my tire that is not even a year old. So naturally, this is Saturday night, so everyone's closed. So Sunday morning, I take it to the tire shop, which happens to be across the street. I think, okay, super convenient. This will be not a big problem. I'll get a patch job and be done. And they tell me, oh no, it's way too big to patch. It's a half-inch diameter screw. We don't even have a patch big enough. And, you need a new tire. Well, we can't get one until tomorrow, Monday morning. Great. So I spend my whole morning calling every shop that is open, which is not that many because it's Sunday. And none of them have my tire. Ultimately, my assistant found a used tire in a shop about a half an hour away. And they said, it was too small, but they could get it on there. I said, okay, I just need to get home. So, long story short, ended up driving up there after my last game, and they saw the tire, and they said, we can patch that. That's not so big, we can't patch it. So, first shop was obviously full of shit. They wanted to sell me a $500 tire. Second shop, I wasted an hour of my life, but at least I got it patched, and I was good to go. And I don't know what it is, these events. Every Mordheim event, I risk something expensive with my car. 2 of my trips to Orlando, I broke a windshield. I don't know what keeps happening, but maybe I got some kind of bad. Well, Steve had a theory that the reason his dice rolling was so bad, the reason everybody around me was failing their route checks, that I have some kind of a negative aura. And, that would explain a lot of things in my life. And maybe my negative aura affects my car, since I'm sitting in it, and outside of it is the aura, and that could be it. So, maybe there's something there. Anyway, day 1, I walk in, and the first game is against. First game was against Cliffs Skaven. So I was a little nervous about facing the Skaven, right? Because they had a lot of numbers. I'm pretty sure he was between 12 and 15, based on however many giant rats he was able to summon. So that's a good amount of numbers. And Skaven are super, super fast. And first game was Treasure Hunt. So all that said, he was in a real strong position to win. Also, it turns out he was in first place. But I started this day, I didn't even realize it, but I was rocking 13 Weirdstone, I think, at some point. So I was really surprised at how I was doing. So, all right, let's see what happens. So in this particular Treasure Hunt game, the roles are a little different. Normally, Treasure Hunt, you pick all the buildings that aren't in the deployment zone. And for us, I think there were 6 or 7 buildings like that, where we used a couple of the scaffolding, because there weren't a ton of buildings on this particular board. This is another really beautiful board, entirely handmade. Really beautiful, intricate buildings, awesome platforms all over the place, and multiple levels to fight on. Just really, really nice board. I think this board was Clayton's, I think was his name. Just excellent, really, really excellent. What you aspire to do when you're making your own Mordheim board, really. I had played on it already, but there weren't a lot of options. We were both in the lead, so we didn't get to pick our board, and that's just what we ended up having to play on. It was fine. It was good. It was a good board to play on. So in Treasure Hunt, normally every time you enter a fighter enters a building, you roll 2d6, and on boxcars, on 12, they find the treasure, and then you have to move the treasure off your board edge. And moving the treasure only allows movement at half speed. cannot run. So if somebody helps you carry the treasure, you just get your full movement. You still can't run. So, Gargamel obviously rocks up as far as he can. He protects the left flank while my other fighters were searching those, a couple of the buildings over there. They didn't find it, of course. Ran up the other side, tried to find the treasure in those buildings, couldn't find it. Skaven ran up, of course, movement 6 and movement 5, super fast. They explored almost all the rest of the buildings, and finally he gets in the last building, the second to last building on his side, rolls, and it's not there, which means it's in the building that I am right in front of. It's decently close to me. It was pretty much the middle of the board, but I already had units on that platform right in front of that building ready to go into it, so I ended up finding it. You got one weird stone for just finding it. So, awesome. Got a good start. Got the chest. Backed up. Got a couple units on it. The left flank, Gargamel made short work of a few rats. The right flank, his assassin and his Black Skaven, one of his Black Skaven and a Night Runner nuked my Warlock, which was really a shame. She did not get to cast Flight successfully one time in this game. It was very frustrating because every time I moved her, she was out of position, but if she could fly, she could search another building or she could go help with the chest, whatever. But she failed it every time she cast it. I think it was like 3 turns. Or 2 turns she lasted. She failed both times and then got killed. And then my rolls for the Mushroom Fungus Brew, again, were amazing. I ended up rolling a 6 again. So I had Frenzy again. So no psychology, no animosity, and Frenzy. And the other thing I rolled was, I believe, a 3, which didn't do anything good or bad, because I think it was like you're immune to fear and all alone tests, but I already had Frenzy, so I was already immune to those things. But again, Frenzy, the Black Skaven got in range, and I had to charge him. And we charged him. I think he took out both of the Smurfs that attacked him. He shot down my Squig, killed that, and then he took out one more Smurf. Oh, he took out Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf, unfortunately, did not get Idol of Gorkoff either, so he was rocking up with his regular 5 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 4s. But he was charged and he was rocked. So I have the treasure chest, and I'm moving it back, and I'm in a pretty good position. And Smurfette there's only one rat that can see Smurfette, and she's helping with the treasure chest. And so she shoots at him with her sling. She hits him. She doesn't wound. Now I have a rabbit's foot, and I'm thinking, okay, if I reroll this wound and at least knock him down, I will get this treasure chest down this ladder, and then I'll almost certainly be able to get it off the board before he can stop me. But then again, I also thought, okay, I also am going to need to take a route check. And I'd rather save my reroll for the route test, because if I fail that in this scenario, in treasure hunt, you drop the treasure chest, and the other team gets it. So I opt to not reroll that wound roll. Obviously, following turn, he charges Smurfette with that, I think it was a Night Runner. And he manages to shoot the other Smurf helping with the treasure chest, which was awful. And because he took him out of action. Hit, wound, dead. And now Smurfette is in combat. Nobody else is touching the treasure chest other than her, so we're not going to be able to do anything here. That's what I'm thinking. What I should have been thinking was, I am going to fail this bottle test. So I roll my bottle test. I keep saying bottle test. Sorry, Necromunda. I roll my route test, and I get an 11. I fail. So, okay, thank goodness I saved my lucky rabbit's foot. I re-roll it, and I get a 10. Now, this particular game, I had some pretty bad luck with shooting, but crucially, I had a hero with a sling who was standing on the lower level, right below the squig, with a clear line of shot, close range, to the only Skaven that could have and ultimately did shoot at the other Smurf carrying the treasure chest. And I forgot about it. I didn't see it because it was right up against the wall, because I tried to climb the wall and failed. Had I climbed the wall, maybe this would have been different. Successfully, great. He would have been there. He could have helped with the chest, or he could have helped with that Night Runner. But not only did he not do any of that, but he sat there for 2 turns. And he could have popped that Skaven. If he had popped that Skaven in short range, it wouldn't have been able to shoot at the other guy carrying the chest. And even though Smurfette was in combat, the other guy carrying the chest could have backed away with it. None of that mattered because of the route check. However, if that hero had managed to stop the Night Runner from killing the other Smurf that was helping with the treasure chest, then I would not have had to take a check. I would not have had to take a route test. So I really, Mordheim has some of these feels bad moments, right? And this is one of those where you forget a unit, and it actually could have changed the outcome of the game. Now, it obviously is not a guarantee, but she's close range, ballistic skill 4 with a sling. I mean, that's very possible to do some damage to a Night Runner. But it is what it is. The dice fall the way they do. I really should have passed an 8 or lower route test on 2 attempts. That's, I just decided to roll really high for some reason. Shouldn't have done that. And so I ended up losing that game. So Smurfs dropped down to 3 and 2. And I only got the 1 weird stone for finding the chest. Didn't get any beyond that. Didn't get another item. Going into the pit is the final battle on this map. And because of all the stuff with my tire, I knew I had to get out of here quickly. So Greg managed to set me up with Josiah, who also had to leave early. So I figured, we could get started right away. There was an open table. Boom. We set up, we started, and we went after it. Josiah was he was playing Kislev, so he had a bear, which was awesome. He had some bows. He had a ranger. Now, ranger is scary against a troll because ranger has a special rule, like big game hunter, I think it's called, or something like that, where if he rolls a 6 to hit a large target, aka a troll, then if he rolls a 5 or a 6 to wound, it's an automatic out of action, regardless of number of wounds. You don't have to roll on the injury chart. It's just he hits him in the eye and kills him. Very scary when you got such an important, expensive model that does so much work, heavy lifting for your warband. To be able to be outed like that is sketchy. And of course, he sets his ranger up right on top. Now, Josiah also took the skill that allows you to infiltrate with deployment. So he had 3 guys that could infiltrate. Now we're playing Weirdstone Hunt, and he put all of his Weirdstone that he placed up high on high walkways. This table's beautiful. It's one of Glenn's tables, and it's so sick. It's got this giant coliseum, the big glowing Weirdstone rock in the middle of it. It's got this sort of like aqueduct that runs across the entire board. And it's got ladders, it's got walkways, it's got everything. And all of it is scratch built. And it's got risers, and it's stunning. And I love it. And I hadn't gotten an opportunity to play on it yet in this particular tournament. So I was very excited to try this one out. as he was placing his weird stones so high, I kind of found myself thinking, man, those are going to be really tough to get to, because they're kind of in the middle of the board and way up high. Little did I know about the infiltrate skill that he had. So he just infiltrated 3 of his guys right on top of those 3 stones up there, and 2 up top and 1 in the very middle of the board in a little ship. This also has a canal running through it with docks along the side and a couple of boats that are really cool. So right off the bat, he's got 3 in his hands. At deployment, before turn 1, he has 3 weird stones. So real sketchy start for me. So not only that, the ranger being posted up on top of the aqueduct in the middle of the board, where no one can get to him, is a scary proposition to face. But so I roll my fungus brew, and again I get a 3 and a 6. So again, I'm immune to all alone tests and fear, which doesn't matter, and I'm immune, and I have frenzy. So phenomenal frenzy. By the way, in the first game of the day, frenzy also screwed me, because one of the people carrying treasure chest was a henchman, and when he got one of his Skaven poking around the corner, both of my henchmen that were up there had to charge him, and so that left just 1 hero, and then obviously Smurfette came in and helped started moving it. But had they not had frenzy, they would have definitely been able to move the chest while Smurfette and the other hero ran point and protected them. But, similarly in this game, I'm moving up the side. I've got my Warlock, my Witch, who's got, she's a Warlock. I keep calling her Witch because that's the model I've used. And by the way, that the friend of the Smurfs who is the wizard, his name is Omnibus. So Omnibus is the name of my Warlock. And so she started up top with one of the henchmen, and one of the heroes with the sling was right behind her. And then my leader and a bunch of heroes and a henchman or 2 were clustered together on the right side. And then up the middle, I just had 2 heroes, a henchman, and my squig. So, also, last game, squig only moved 4 inches. I think moved 8 inches, and then 4 inches, and then died. This game, squig moved, the first move was 8, I think, which was decent. And then after that, it was 4 inches again. And then another, I think, 6 or 7 or something like that. But I had to jump down and failed, so it fell. The cat fell. Azrael fell. And then by the very end of the game, Azrael moved as far as she could straight towards the one of his handgunners who had a weird stone shard, and she stopped an inch short. And that was really important. I'll tell you why later. So, my troll ran up and tried to beat down on the guy that was in the boat, and he managed to stun him. Then his warlock, had Dread of Ennoir or something like that, which basically you take a leadership test, and if you fail it, you flee 2d6 directly away from Warlock. Well, leadership on the troll is 4. So obviously I failed that. I stunned the guy, failed my leadership test, ran away. Luckily I ran away into Smurfette's range, so I got to recover from that stupidity. I managed to recover, and then also pass stupidity, and charge right back in and kill the guy that was stunned. On the flank with Smurfette, we are just trading shots with that ranger. The ranger shot at the troll, couldn't do anything to him. I saved everything with my regen. The 4-up and bone save on that troll is so clutch. He saved them all. And then the ranger and Smurfette started having a shootout. They were just standing, 7 inches apart from each other, just shooting at each other nonstop. And while they're doing that, he ran his bear up under the aqueduct. My two henchmen were blocking the entrance. They got charged. One got charged, the other one had to charge because of frenzy. And then also Papa Smurf had to charge because of frenzy. The problem was he couldn't fit on my side of the board, so what he did was he had to go all the way around the aqueduct and charge the back of the bear, which is where his bear tamer and his leader were standing. So they charged Papa Smurf. We did 2 wounds to the bear and had 1 left, but obviously they charged Papa Smurf. They dominated him. The bear dominated the 2 henchmen, and it tied them up for a while. On the other side, where the warlock, the hero, and the henchman were, they started chasing down the bowman that had the weird stone. And the warlock rolled the silver arrows. So first we tried to do silver arrows at the ranger, and missed, I think, all but 2, didn't cause any wounds. And then, or actually, yes, she missed, didn't cause any wounds. So she and the henchman started chasing down the bowman, who was running along the rim of the arena. So they ultimately, because he can't run backwards, he can only walk backwards, and since the henchman had frenzy, he had to run and then charge. He was able to, somebody shot the bowman, knocked him down, or stunned him rather. So his turn, he was turned over, he was knocked down, and he crawled down a ladder down into the arena, where he was subsequently charged by my henchman and killed. So I got that weird stone. The warlock kept running along the rim of the arena, trying to shoot silver arrows at his warlock, who had this other weird stone shard. And ultimately killed her. So it was great. So now all I need to do is fly down and get it, or get my troll to be able to charge and get it, or be able to get my squig to not fall on her face and get it. Unfortunately, none of those things happened. And so what actually happened was his handgunners, who were in the very back, they came out, they ran up, one of them grabbed that weird stone shard. They both shot at my squig, who stopped an inch short and missed. And then the bear tamer and the bear, after going through both all of Papa Smurf and 2 henchmen, they finally got to charge Smurfette. She spent way too much time standing back there in the open trying to deal with this ranger, who eventually got shot off of the aqueduct, fell to the ground, and died, leaving his weird stone right in front of Smurfette. Instead of being smart and moving Smurfette up to that weird stone and hiding, I used her to shoot at somebody, I think, instead. Part of my issue was the weird stone shard was actually obscured. I couldn't really see where it was from where I was standing, so I really forgot it was there. And so that's kind of a shame. None of this mattered. This is the last game of the tournament, and I'm pretty sure it was Glenn or Cliff had like 17 or 18 shards. Like there was no way, even if I had gotten all 5, and we played with 5 shards, if I had gotten all 5 and the win, and in this scenario if you won, you got an extra shard, I still don't think I would have won. I think I maybe would have tied the winner. But it didn't matter because I didn't choose to move up and hide and get the weird stone. Instead, I shot, which that happens. You lose sight of the mission, and you pay for it. Even if she had moved up to grab that weird stone, I don't think it would have made a difference because the bear, his leader, and his bear tamer were all, I think, at least the bear was within 4 inches. And so even if she had moved in and was hidden, she would have stayed hidden because the bear has really low initiative. I think it's like 2 or 3. So I think she would have been able to hide. And in fact, she didn't even have to do that. She could have moved over it and continued to move because have to stop to pick up Weirdstone, which I think is a mistake. I think picking up Weirdstone, you should always have, the model should always have to stop to pick it up. Otherwise, there's no risk. You just sprint right over it and you grab it. And that, to me, is kind of lame. Everything should have risk in this game, to me. So, she could have done some shenanigans if I had realized, if I opened my eyeballs and seen the Weirdstone shard right in front of her. But I didn't, so she got charged. She got annihilated. There goes my leadership 8. My next highest is a 6. And at this point, I have done a decent amount of work to his warband. The problem, though, is that last turn, just before he charged my leader, I unleashed a volley of shots. I couldn't hit or wound anybody. And it just was a really unfortunate turn for rolling for me. All my rolls were terrible just in one turn, and that's all it takes in this game for it to totally shift. It was to the point where just before this turn, Josiah was saying, like, well, I really should just voluntarily route because there's no way I'm going to win. I might not even survive if I stick around, but he said, Mama didn't raise no bitch, so I'm not going to do it. I said, that's the spirit, and I like that. Josiah might be my favorite guy to play with. He played just like me, very chill, knowledgeable about the rules. We made mistakes, that happens no matter what. But also just very laid back. Like, base doesn't really fit. It's a really big base. Whatever. Jiggle it in there, and it's fine. And he also rolls like me, so he'll roll. If it doesn't roll into his dice tray or it bounces out, he doesn't count it and he re-rolls it no matter what it is. I do the same thing. I tell everybody when I first start, you see a die bounce out of this tray, it's dead to me. I re-roll it no matter what. And I did that a few times in this tournament, and I know at least one of the times I rolled a 5 or 6 out and then like a 1 or 2 in, and that happens. But not like that, for example, he's like, I think it's difficulty 7, but I'll look it up if it matters. And he rolls his dice, and he gets like a 2 or 3. It's like, doesn't matter, doesn't go off. And I do the same thing. Like, I think I need a 4, and I roll the dice. And if it comes up as a 1 or a 2 or a 5 or a 6, I don't even look it up, obviously. But if it comes up as a 4, I go, okay, let me just double check and make sure I did actually need a 4. And so I think that's a way of kind of keeping the game going. We were also both in a hurry. I had to get back to my car, get it inflated, drive it a half an hour away, get the tire fixed, drive it half an hour back in time for everybody else to do the wrap up. So we were both trying to move. But despite that, it still was kind of a long slog. And ultimately, after he killed Smurfette, I had to take a route check and failed. I lost my rabbit's foot because it was on Smurfette. I lost leadership 8 because that was on Smurfette. This was the first game that I felt like I made the big boo-boo. I made such a terrible tactical decision to keep her up front there. I just was so focused on trying to kill that ranger that I didn't realize she was getting really close to danger without any protection. I mean, there was nobody else around her, so those 2 henchmen and Papa Smurf were distracting them. That was the time where she should have scooped up that Weirdstone and sprayed. But I was too busy focused on trying to kill everybody. And it cost me the game. Ultimately, it didn't cost me the tournament. It didn't make a difference. I would not have won anyway. Had that squig just rolled 1 extra inch or succeeded on the initiative, the 4 up initiative, or I guess 4 or less initiative check, or had my troll not fled for Dread of Honor, or at least that one is like, that's a shoe-in. It's a leadership test against a 4. He's gonna fail. But the squig not getting there, only rolling. So the other thing is the squig, when it fell, it was knocked down, and so when it stood up and rolled, it did only moved half the distance, and unfortunately, the half the distance, I think I rolled a 9. It was really good for a squig, especially when I kept rolling double twos a lot of times this tournament. But it was only 4.5 inches, and I needed just not even a full inch, just needed a little bit more than half an inch to get there, and so I was just short. If I had made that successful charge, that would have been one more shard. He, after he killed Smurfette, he obviously scooped up that weird stone and boogied off. So there was no way I was going to get that last one, and I'm pretty certain. I think I could have possibly had a chance at winning, having more redstone, if I think I had to get all of them. Now that I'm thinking about it, I just can't remember exactly. It doesn't matter because that's not what happened. What happened was my dumbass let Smurfette get into too much trouble. She died. I fled, and Josiah won. Came away with the W. So the Smurfs ended up going 3-3. Again, way better than I thought they would. No way I would have guessed they would have been batting 500 for sure. Just too bad that I couldn't have, remembering that hero down low and just seeing if that would. I mean, it could have changed the outcome. Seeing if it would have been fun, and realizing that Smurfette was standing in front of a shard of Weirdstone, that was kind of a big deal. I would have gotten at least one more shard out of the deal, if not been able to protect her enough to pass that bottle check or that route test and win, because he needed to take a route test too. He just passed his. I think he passed 2 of them. So could have gone either way. I ended up 3-3. I could have very easily been 5-1, and I also could have very easily been 1-5, because the ones where my opponents routed, so especially Brent, when he routed immediately like that could have very easily been a loss for me. If that vampire just had 1 or 2 more turns to hang out and chop into me, I could have bottled myself. I could have routed. And then, same for Travis. Had I not passed that climb check and Omnibus fell, and Warlock fell, he could have probably gotten that Prince, or at least he could have surrounded me enough to do some damage. But, the way it fell, listen, I had a great time at SkirmishCon. I had so much fun. I played 6 entertaining and fun games with 6 entertaining and fun opponents. We all have varying knowledge of the game, varying levels of rules retention. I still, even on the second day, I still was mixing up Necromunda and Mordheim rolls. Still thinking a high roll on an issue check was good. Silly little mistakes. But the games were fun. People were fun. I scored some awesome stuff at the flea market. So, they have a flea market every year. I walked past a guy, I think his name was Patrick. Yeah, it was Patrick. And he's got a bin full of books, and he had a stack of Necromunda books. He had all the Hive War books. He had the Book of Shadow, the Book of Peril, the Book of Judgment. He had a couple of the books. I think 4 of the books were out of date, so they weren't with the new rules anymore, or new books had replaced them, like the Book of Judgment. But they still had scenarios in them that you can use, and obviously they have all the lore, and they're just pretty cool books. And I saw that, I was like, oh my god, I want to have that. And he kept looking at me, he's like, look, I don't want them. I don't need them. They're heavy. Take them from me, please. Make me an offer. I don't care, I'm cheap. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm looking at this stack of books, I'm thinking he's probably going to want $40 at least. And I don't need them. And then, it kept kept coming back, and they kept taunting me like, he's going to do it this time. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just looking at never know what's up. And then the last time I came by, I think it was my third time, he goes, look, you tell me $10, and I'll say okay, and you take them. And I was like, $10? Well, that's too cheap. I have to buy them. But I also felt like I was stealing them, so I reverse negotiated. I told him, he said $25. He said, no, but I'll take $25. I said, sold. So I bought all these books for $25. I still feel like I stole them, because it's a lot of books. Even just the Book of Shadows current. The Book of Ruin is current, and I've just got a bunch of Corpse Grinders thanks to Dan. So, I had to do it. Another Dean who made the amazing board, he had a table at the flea market because he had a game store back in the 90s, and so he brought out a whole bunch of old stuff that he still had from his old game store. So he had a bunch of 90s models. Very cool stuff. Like he had some second edition Monopose Gretchen and just like all kinds of cool nostalgic type stuff. Old metal models, metal Catachans, just some cool stuff. But he also had some little sprues of like arms and weapons that were again from the 90s, and I ended up snatching up 4 of those because I've got some Chaos Helots that I want to make into a Chaos Necromunda gang, but I'm finding that these Chaos, they're Chaos cultists, they're a little smaller scale than the Necromunda models. Like I guess they're a little older, so they're just a little smaller. They're not like Primaris versions of Necromunda, they're just like the originals. So I found that I've got some extra weapon packs, but the weapons look a little too big on these cultists. Especially like the grenade launchers, they look way too big. But he had, and also the extra arms that come with the weapon packs are too big for the cultists. They don't look right. But these old sprues, the arms and the weapons are smaller because they're old models. So I got a couple of those, thinking I could maybe use them for that purpose. So all around, it was an awesome event. Prizes were given away while I was out, but they grabbed me there was a plastic vampire, female vampire. They know I love my female vampire, so they grabbed me that model. So I had a really good time, a lot of fun, met a whole bunch of cool people, and can't wait to do it again next year. As far as the format, so I know I complained about the format before I got there. For me, the post game, the progression, the injuries, the narrative, that's where that stuff develops in this game. The campaign system is to me, is the most engaging part of Mordheim. And so to just forego all of that felt like, am I going to even enjoy myself? But I did. And not having any post game since it was only 2 days, and it's back to back, it's just a bunch of games. It's true, the post game does slow it down a lot if you're trying to get through a tournament. So we managed to get the 4 games in day 1, pretty much just because we didn't have a post game. And obviously, I liked playing more games better than I liked playing fewer games. So I really enjoyed it. I think my suggestion for next year, I'd probably suggest we stay with this this idea of you get one warband, that's what you start with, and every game you start fresh. No no injuries, no exploration, and no experience. Even tracking experience during the game slows you down. So to not do any of that was nice. It was very cool, especially for a tournament structure. It was very smart. The thing that I would change is I would forego the skirmish upgrade rules. I didn't see any benefit to doing that, where you could, start with skills and pay for upgrades for your characteristics. I know this is a tournament, and SkirmishCon is always, more like competitive play. Like, it's a tournament, right? So everybody's there. They want to try to win. But it just kind of lends itself to making some pretty scary and damn near broken combinations. Especially when you start adding wounds to things. And I talked about the possessed. I think the possessed only played one game. Obviously, Greg is not. He's not playing in this tournament. He's hosting it, so he's really playing it. But he did have to match up. I think at least one game, maybe two. And in his game, I think he lost. He had a bunch of guys falling all over the place, and be very easy for him to route. He only needs to lose two, so obviously it's easy because he needs to lose two, but it's hard because he has 15 wounds in his warband. I don't know if he lost, now that I think about it, but at any rate, those are the types of things that I don't think add anything. And Anders, his Beastman warband, super potent warband. Those upgrades, giving these guys extra wounds, they already have extra toughness as Beastmen. It seemed insurmountable. I know I lasted a long time against him, but that was mainly just due to his poor dice rolls and the fact that my troll just wouldn't die. He very easily could have won that game quicker if he just had some maybe more average rolls. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the stock warbands starting off and having the same starting warband every game would be great. I think it would be perfect. You don't need to worry about any kind of brokenness from these extra upgrades or these skills on starting guys. And then I also had the suggestion of to make it a little bit of a progression rather than just a starting warband. Between day 1 and day 2, everybody gets like 150 gold or something like that for you to be able to it could even be just to buy equipment or to buy new hired swords or to buy some new fighters. I think that would be a really cool way to balance the interests here. So, because by giving the gold after the last game on day 1, it's not going to slow anything down. Everybody just is going to show up on Sunday morning with just some extra gear, and it's still no extra experience, no advancements, none of that stuff. Just some extra gear, maybe a few extra guys. And I think that's a cool way to balance it. I don't mind it either way. I don't feel like the extra skirmish bonuses or upgrades rather conveyed any benefit to the tournament. I think it was more fun, and there were limited circumstances where it felt a little less fun. Part of the cool part about how warbands change over time with the advancements to me is that you don't know what you're going to get. So certain advancements on certain henchman groups or certain heroes sort of tends to give you direction for that particular fighter as to what you're going to do. Like, if you end up getting a strength upgrade on a guy, okay, well, obviously I want him to kind of focus on melee because, I want to take advantage of that advancement. And similarly, you get a henchman group, they get an attack upgrade. Okay, let's make them close combat. Or, they get initiative or, weapon skill, ballistic skill, and they happen to already have bows or crossbows or something. Like, yeah, okay, this lends to creating some ranged role players. But with the upgrade rules being that you can just pick and choose, obviously you pay gold for it. But by being able to pick and choose the stats, it ends up being stronger than if you just have random advancements. Much stronger because guy that already starts with weapon skill 3 or 4. That's the guy you give a strength upgrade to. Now he's even scarier. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think it was an excellent way to have a tournament over 2 days. 100%. No post game, no exploration, no experience. I think it streamlines the process, makes it more fun. But I think you could add some spice and variety without the extra stat upgrades and skills and stuff like that. But that covers SkirmishCon 2026, Jacksonville, Florida, Mordheim event extravaganza. I don't know. That was probably the right way to say it. Looking forward to the next one. Looking forward to a couple weeks from now, where I will be going to Orlando for game day 1 of the upcoming Halfling Goblin campaign. Learned a lot playing my goblins. I know that I had a good time at this tournament with them. Went 3 wins, 3 losses, but I also know a big reason for that is the fact that I was able to upgrade them before the game. So the fact that all of my heroes with slings have ballistic skill 4 instead of 3. The fact that my leader has leadership 8 instead of 7. The fact that Papa Smurf starts with 2 attacks and Frenzy. He's going to start with Frenzy in the campaign, but he's only going to have 1 base attack. So instead of rocking up to somebody with 6 attacks when his spell goes up, he's going to have his 2 attacks base from 1 attack with Frenzy, 1 for an extra weapon, and then 1 for Idol of Course. So he'll have 4 attacks, which is still good, but it's not the blender that he is with 2 attacks. So, I mean, they are sort of perfectly tailored to be okay with the skirmish rules upgrades. Without those upgrades, they are probably going to have a real tough time. But luckily, halflings suck. So I should be able to do something against them. Now, halflings, I say they suck. I've never played against them. I've never played them. I haven't gone super in depth in their war bands. But they have toughness 2. Toughness 2. So everybody's wounding them on a 3 at least. Nobody has strength 2. Everything is at least strength 3. And, you got the squigs with strength 4. So they're going to be hitting on 2s. They're going to be wounding on 2s, rather. That's so tough. That is so hard to overcome. And I talked to Steve about that at dinner. I told him that, and Steve is running this particular campaign. Normally Glenn runs it, but Steve is running this one. And he spent a lot of time and energy and effort into coordinating and designing this campaign and the specific scenarios we're going to win and all the wacky stuff that's going to happen. He told me some stuff. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be cool. And even though it's going to be very fun and cool and thematic and silly, which is cool because I think Mordheim is a silly game. It should be a silly game. It's really goblins against halflings, and halflings having that toughness too is just such a big handicap. So he said he might be doing something a little extra for the halflings, and I certainly think it's warranted. Definitely, give them a free hired sword, or I don't know, something to help them. He thought about maybe having halflings only have to pay half upkeep cost for hired swords. I really like that. I think that's super thematic. Halflings, the whole point of this campaign is the hunt for the famous cookbook or something. But halflings in general in fantasy are good cooks, and there's all kinds of mechanics for that in games across the spectrum. So The idea that a halfling, in fact, in Mordheim, the halfling cook hired sword increases your warband size because they're so well fed. And I think that's really thematic, really cool. Um, and so giving halflings half the upkeep cost would help compensate a little bit for this, drawback of only having 2 toughness. And I also told Steve, I said, it's halflings versus goblins. But I'm playing Smurfs, so Smurfs could certainly be on the side of halflings. And I told him if he needed it, I could be on the side of the halflings with my Smurfs. That said, it would only be using the Night Goblin rules because I have no interest in playing the halflings based on their rules. It's just not interesting, not engaging. I want my guys to be drunk as skunks and drinking their mushroom brew left the whole time. So gotta have those Night Goblin rules. I also don't want them to have 2 toughness. So call me a metagamer if you will, but there are certain things that I'm willing to ignore when it comes to thematics and gameplay, and then there's 2 toughness. So, alright, I've yammered on long enough. I know everybody else had a great time at SkirmishCon. I did. I'm very grateful for everybody that put together the terrain boards that we got to play on. They were outstanding works. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Greg, thanks to Greg for putting this together and dealing with the organizers and getting us set up. Got a bunch of great gifts and giveaways and prizes for the Mordheim team. Throughout the tournament, he kept saying, "Oh, we got a vendor gave us a new donation for the prize pool," and we had some really cool stuff. So, I forgot to mention one of the coolest parts about the weekend. The Smurfs, delivered the Bad Beat Award to Steve. So Steve got a little token for having the bad beat of the day that gave him like $5 off at the vendors. Because Greg was there for a lot of our game, and he saw he could not roll to wound. He couldn't roll anything better than a 1 or a 2. It was so obscene, and we all took notice. So yeah, that was also cool. All right. I'm going to do this again in a couple weeks when I go to Orlando for the Halfling Goblin campaign. But until then, take it easy, alright?